I guess this is a public meeting hearing, June 14th, 2021 at 6:30. This public hearing is for a couple of items. The first item is to obtain views on the housing and community development needs of the town of Iowa and discuss the submission of an application for funding under the State of Louisiana Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus HVAC program. This is that HVAC program that they have in place that we've got to get in this month to be able to put in a high performance HVAC system at the community center, and we'll also be putting it here in the police department and in the council room and all of that. The council room we'll have to pay for out of our funds, but the rest of the HVACs will be 100% paid for under this LCDBG grant. And as part of this public hearing, we open it up to anybody that has any discussions as to, if they got any questions on it or how it benefit the community at large. The HVAC system will be a high performance ventilation system, which means that if we have something similar to coronavirus or other things, small microscopic type viruses, it'll take out the majority of them, which we don't currently have now. Is there anybody that would like to make any comment or have a say on this? Okay. Not, then we'll go to the next item, which is obtain views on introduction of ordinance 2021-03, an ordinance to amend section 47.9 subpart B to add another intersection stop sign and yield signs. This is the one we talked about last week, related to South Philbrook and West First, Storer and West First, Philbrick and West Second, Storer and West Second, Philbrick and West Third, Storer and West Third. I think we've made some modifications based on the prior discussions, and this is basically the results of those discussions. Does anybody have any comments or anything they'd like to bring up about this? If not, then at 6:34, we will end the public meeting. Okay. The next item, I guess, call to order the normal Town of Iowa City Council meeting being held today, June 14th, 2021. And we've established a quorum. Everybody is present. If you'd stand and bow your head, I'd ask Joe to lead us in a moment of prayer.
Please bow your heads. Lord, we are meeting today to conduct matters of business. Guide our hearts, our minds, in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I guess we have the agenda, but I'd like, I guess, a motion to amend the agenda to add two items that came up this week that really need to be taken care of. The motion to approve Resolution 2021-09, a resolution entering into agreement associated with administration of the LCDBG CV application, subject to state approval and upon Office of Community Development paying the administration fee. And the second item to add is a motion to approve a cooperative endeavor agreement between the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury and the town of Iowa for assistance of debris removal for Hurricanes Laura and Delta. These both came in after everything come on, and I'd ask that we
You need a motion for each one?
You can say for both of them.
For both, okay, I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll add them to them. I guess, now do we just need to, I guess, a motion to accept the, adopt the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next item is approval of minutes as written, not read for the regular meeting, May 10th, 2021, and special meeting, May 17th, 2021. Get a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the first thing, that just kind of move it around, because, I know that some, Brent Stance needs to leave, so I'm just going to move around. Number 3, bring it up first. A request by Brent Stance to install fence on town of Iowa right-of-way. Brent, do you want to come up and just kind of tell them a little bit about what you're wanting to do and where it's located and all that?
Yes, sir. I purchased the old Guidry's Pharmacy and the corner lot to the north of it. And so what I was looking at doing is purchasing or putting up a fence along the back property line, mainly to, if we're mowing or doing anything on that property, that we don't intrude in the neighbor's yard or cause any harm in that way. The reason why it's on the right of way is when Mr. Guidry sold the property, he sold part of it to the neighbor behind the pharmacy. And so the property line falls close to the sewer, so that's why we need permission to put a fence there.
And the understanding is, he understands that if for whatever reason, if we ever have to go in and work on that line and we have to remove it, it will be, he will be responsible to put it back in. But I do understand that he's going to design it to where it'll make it very easy to tear down. If we have-
fence?
Yes, sir, just a wooden privacy fence, and we're gonna run long boards across it. In the event that they need to take it down, though, we'll just put extra screws in it and cut it at that post where we could remove it in sections instead of tearing the whole thing down.
So it's not going to present a problem for the sewer system
No, ma'am,
operating? Okay.
no, ma'am.
Yeah, the only thing is we need to make sure we mark out, with our guys on the dotty to make sure, we don't
Yes, sir.
get into the situation of a bunch. But other than that, I guess a motion to allow him.
I move to allow Mr. Stance to install a fence on the town right
Second.
away.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Mr.
Yes,
Stance, the flags were also very nice, so thanks
Thank
for
you.
being a
Thank you
part of
for
that.
that. July 1st, they'll be going back up, working on getting some ROTC National Guard guys to come out and help and install them with us and do it kind of a community effort. And then same thing for Veterans Week. The Week of Veterans in November,
November.
we'll do it again. So,
Very cool.
One more question.
yes, ma'am.
So you're going to be moving the business to the former Guidry's?
Still tentative.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know if we're gonna actually turn that into some maybe commercial rental spaces and build a new building on the corner.
I
I
see.
think that's the dream, but we may go short term into the Guidry's building
Okay.
and then the corner. But it's all kind of up in the air right now.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming to town.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. The first, I guess the next item on the agenda is a motion to adopt ordinance 2021-03, an ordinance to amend section 47-9, some part B, to add another intersection stop sign and yield signs as discussed previously. Any questions or anything? Are y'all satisfied with it as it is? If it is, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to adopt ordinance 2021-03.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The next item on the agenda is engineers' report on current projects and updates. Walt, you wanna?
Good evening. First item is the Helen and Barkley project. And we have pay request number 1 from RC Paving in the amount of $221,693.71. And it is our recommendation that this be put in line for payment.
How much was it again?
$221,693.71.
Is this everything but the retainage? Is that what this will complete?
There is some additional shoulder material to be placed and some pavement marking and cleanup, et cetera. So it's close. This does include the the extra streets that we added, the North Sherman and
Yes.
South Kinney. So,
Okay.
and the retainage is, we still have the retainage.
Okay, well, no, I didn't know which one, I don't have a copy of that, so I just want to make sure.
Okay.
Okay, a motion to pay,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
The next item is the engineer's estimate number 1 for the same project. We respectfully submit our invoice number 1 in the amount of $20,084.02.
I make a motion, we pay the engineer's first payment, $20,084.02.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
The next item of business is North Store. We did receive bids. We had 5 bidders. The bids range from $519,000 up to $682,000, so kind of a spread there. But it's our recommendation that McManus Construction in the amount of $519,620 be considered for award.
I make the motion, we accept McManus Construction bid for the North Store drainage improvement for $519,620.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? When do you anticipate this actually to kick off, or when are they, you'll be looking at that they'll actually start working on those streets?
Well, see, we'll, if it's awarded, we'll go ahead with the contract documents, bonding, that probably a couple months from now, they would have their ability to start.
So it'll still be about 2 months before they really get started?
Generally speaking, it takes a while to get the performance and payment bonds and the paperwork, and they won't order the materials until they have all that in place.
Like August?
That would be the soonest, I think. This one has a trust fund that we applied for and were
Yeah,
successful on. So,
$107,000 that'll be applied, and that's been put in the budget for it, so.
yeah, yeah. The difference here is that this amount for this project is higher than the original application that was prepared a year ago. And so if 109,000 was based upon 23% of the original cost, if the parish still contributes 23%, then the town's out of pocket for everything would be about 434,000. If they don't, if they just stop at the amount that was requested back in the application, then the town's exposure would be closer to 455,000.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and that, if you remember right, that was the one that they were going into coronavirus, and they just said, we just got a certain amount. They didn't put it through the pointing system or anything like that, so.
that's correct. That's correct.
Well, maybe.
So we're hoping they're gonna be generous to us and go ahead and contribute based upon the original 23% ratio.
Fantastic, thank you.
And that is my report.
What's the status, I guess, on, have you heard, I guess you've done the surveys and stuff for the Cudla and all of them for
We
that
have
part?
turned over topographic drawing information to Mr. Cudla for the first phase, the Buddy Ball area. At this time, he thought those were adequate. I have not been asked to go back and do any more field work. And so, to my knowledge, he's able to move forward.
Okay, and then the other is, I guess, what's status on the LCDBG grant for the pipe bursting?
Still have that one in the pipeline. I'm also focusing right now on the sewer pond Limna
Yeah.
project. That's my 2 big jobs here that I need to put some, turn the gas up on here for the town of Iowa.
And that's still looking to be in the neighborhood of 1.6 or so.
In that order of magnitude, right, yeah.
That's pretty significantly more than we'd even budgeted the prior year, so I just will make everybody aware of it. This is a case that FEMA may reimburse us some or a good portion of it. There's a possibility of it. But, whether they do or not, we have to accomplish this to keep ourselves within EPA requirements and DEQ requirements for on the sewer. So this is not something that's very discretionary, I think, is what I'm trying to bring a point up, so,
Correct.
thank you much.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Tom.
Did y'all find out any more, and y'all mentioned in one of the meetings, I don't remember which one, that if y'all added some of that property along Railroad Avenue, are they prepared to adjust for that? You had several people come in that had talked about properties and the city may be buying them and doing some different things.
Yeah, we've not gotten, I guess they've not come back to let us know whether they're interested in doing it along Railroad Avenue. But that is, that's one of the things, it won't stop us from doing what happens. It just means we won't have to put as much parking in the park if we were able to do that, which is a pretty minor adjustment, it just gives us more grounds to put playgrounds and things like that in, so.
That was just a random question. I know Cudlow had said, I think maybe you said he thought it was a good idea.
If we could
Y'all
add.
were able to add that, but I didn't know.
Yeah, we still haven't gone very far on that. Right, in fact, right now they're tearing down a lot of the, those trailers over there, which is,
That's
in either case, is things that we need to happen, so. The next item on the list is, this is one of them. I want to bring up a resolution to enter into agreement associated with administration of the LCDBG CV application. This is where this is the one that we're working with. Cindy, is that the one we're working with? I can't think of the guy's name. Thomas McGee, you're right. This is for his contract on the LCDBG CV application. We read earlier about where we had to have the public meeting to be able to ensure that this would be reimbursed as part of that. This is the actual agreement with the CDBG grants application. Whereas the town of Iowa desires to submit an LCDBG grant, public facilities application, and whereas the town has, through federal regulated procurement procedures, received one single proposal for the submission and administration of the LCDBG CV application, and whereas the town has obtained authorization to award a contract on a non-competitive basis, therefore the town of Iowa desires to enter into agreement with Fry McGee LLC to perform all the administrative consulting services associated with the application, which includes assistance with developing the application and thereafter performing all the administrative consulting duties following a grant award. Now therefore be it resolved by the town of Iowa to enter into this agreement. I guess I'm looking for a motion to allow me to sign off on having this agreement put in place to execute the respective agreements.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Just for your knowledge, that cost, if I remember right, that's $35,000. It's basically we can't do a percentage, but the contract originally was a percentage, but it ended up being a fixed rate of 35, and that was the minimum anyway. However, as I was talking about, this is one that we would recover completely as part of the cost on the LCDBG grant, so. Okay. The next item is a motion to approve an architectural contract between the town of Iowa and Cudla Architecture LLC for the purpose of design and plan for the HVAC upgrades for the town of Iowa Community Center, and authorize myself to execute the contract. To be able to get this in for the current month, because we have to have this in by the end of June, the town is going to pay for the contractual services for developing of the cost for this project, as opposed to trying to put it under the LCDBG grant. We don't have enough time to be able to go through all the contractual requirements that would allow us to put it under the contract. And so that will just be a contract that we will pick up as our cost. And do you know what the cost on that was?
I don't
right off the
on
pan.
what Mr. Cudler had.
Yeah, I was thinking it was like 15 or 18%, not 8%, 15 to 18,000, it'll be based on a percent contract. But this is the only way that we can make sure we meet it to be able to get the money for, the HVAC systems for everything, so.
I make the motion to approve the architectural contract between the town of Iowa and Cudla Architecture for the HVAC upgrades.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The next item is a cooperative endeavor agreement between the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury and the town of Iowa. I guess y'all remember a couple of meetings back that Troy Romero came in and told us that the state legislature awarded $90,000 to the town of Iowa, but they had to give it to the parish. Well, they forgot to tell the parish that they were giving it to them on behalf of us. So I understand that at one point they'd actually spent the money and then realized that they had, somebody kind of corrected it. And as such, they're putting in, I guess, a cooperative endeavor agreement, this agreement here, which allows them to give us that $90,000 that they were supposed to. So basically, it's the parish, it's our authority to assist the city. This is to cover any funds related to cleanup and that type of activity that isn't covered currently by FEMA or by some other government sources. And of course, that's going to be very handy because we'll talk about a little bit later. We are going to make a final pass at our costs through towns. Our initial estimate on that right now is roughly $25,000 to $30,000. So this will reimburse us for that, as well as any of the other expenditures that FEMA doesn't give us going forward related to cleanup costs and stuff like that. So I guess a motion to be able to enter into this cooperative endeavor agreement.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The next item on the agenda, let's see, is introduce ordinance 2021-04, an ordinance adopting an operating budget of revenues and expenditures for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022. We talked about last week, and I did make sure I added in those things we talked about. You will find a preliminary management letter, and I'll try to be short, and I may read quickly and try just to summarize. The budget is hereby presented for review and approval. The budget satisfies the legal requirements as set forth in revised statute 39-1201 through 1316 and incorporates the following reports. And these will be updated for the next meeting next week, which will be the final part of this. So right now we're putting them in until we have final numbers next week, but I don't expect them to change very dramatically. A financial statement of position as of 30th May, budget summary report showing the 2021-2022 proposed budget submitted for review and approval beginning with this meeting. Forecast of financial position for 30th June 2021, which is basically 11 months actual and 1 month's forecast. And of course, the prior period's approved budget, just as a comparative. This budget represents a continuation and, where possible, improvement of the town's service level given the challenges presented during the 2020-2021 fiscal year, which includes COVID-19 pandemic. The coronavirus outbreak had a significant negative impact on the overall revenue generation process and the ability to provide and meet service expectations. We noticed a significant operating expense increase as the result of COVID, even before the impacts of the two hurricanes. Hurricanes Laura and Delta, the town of Iowa experienced the damage and expectations resulting from the worst of both hurricanes, e.g. the eye wall for both passed over a part of these over the town. The town's infrastructure was significantly damaged, and just cleanup recovery cost has exceeded $2 million. We had a major freeze event, which also had some infrastructure impact, and a couple of short period rain events that deposited more than 9 inches of rain each time they done it. And this was within a 24 hour. So, you know, these are all fairly significant and unusual in the sense that while you might see one, you don't see them all in the same year. And we had it occur. Given the effects of the previously mentioned challenges, the budget was developed focusing on recovering our revenue streams, as well as implementing cost controls to ensure the highest level of service to the town's citizens at the overall lowest cost. Capital spending included in the budget is for those costs where the town is receiving assistance via grants, reimbursements, etc., that have been approved, identified, or for those programs that have been in place for prior budgets, roads, drainage, etc. For those items which will be reimbursed by insurance or FEMA completely, the expense was not put in this budget, but as they are approved and be implemented, I'll be bringing it to the council for approvals as exception to the budget. And part of this is because we have no way of predicting when this cost is going to incur or even the levels of the cost. And I don't want to put something in there, you know, when I know that y'all are all aware that I do bring it up to the council on any extraordinary things so that y'all are directly involved in that decision-making process. Likewise, we are aware that the federal and state government has indicated that they will be providing the town with additional grants and similar monetary assistance, but because we cannot conclusively determine when these will be received, we've not included them in the budget. Of course, if we do receive them, we will recognize them, you know, and it'll just be more revenue than what we budgeted for. This presentation attempts to provide a detailed budget that will be helpful in guiding and assuring the council and our citizens' concerns and desires for service, capital improvements, and vision for IOA are met. The following assumptions are incorporated into this approved budget and apply to all funds. A general 5% cost of living will be granted effective with the first complete paycheck in July. This is across the board for everybody, as we've always done in the past. We put it in the budget specifically to make sure there's no confusion, that it's in the budget and it's expected to be given. It will be given in the first complete paycheck, assuming you approve the budget in July, the first complete paycheck in July. Revenue forecasts are our best estimates based on current and historical trends. You know, an example of that is, you know, with this, the COVID, our sales tax increased probably they increased 35% over our best year prior to that. We don't see that decreasing. We also got confirmation from the parish that they see the same thing happening. So whenever we do that, we've gone and analyzed trends and tried to apply those trends and then compare them back to when things were working right to make sure, you know, to see how it is. And these were generated to use to generate a reasonableness on revenues. There were some things, I guess, that we know we're still short on and we hope to catch it back up, but we didn't feel comfortable putting everything back to pre-pandemic, or hurricane on everything until we actually see it. So the benefit package for full-time employees remained the same, but with an HSA increase, with the town contributing $1,500 per year, up from $1,200 per year, that they can apply to their deductibles. In addition, the other medical and benefit costs also increased $12 per month per employee. Now, we expected some increase. Some of this was based on trends of, of claims and things like that. So those are put in there. Those detailed capital improvements that are identified and included in the summary of each fund, and then 2 vacancies in the utility department, as well as 2 additional part-time dispatchers is built into this. Overtime is assumed to be 12% overall. We did increase that because we were having to spend quite a bit to keep everything. We're having to do more in-house than we can outsource, and it looks like it's gonna continue for some time until things get leveled back out. The general fund revenues are budgeted to increase 200,000 over last year's budget and 700,000 over forecast. That was because we forecasted an impact from COVID, and the COVID impact was dramatically more than what we originally expected. That's gambling revenue was definitely hurt. The fine revenue, you know, there were 5 or 6 months that we really weren't out being able to enforce safety and such. So all of that fell back to, and we're assuming that it's going to recover from pre-pandemic and hurricane levels, but maybe not as great as what it originally was. We anticipate LGAP funding revenue from the prior year, which we spent, but the revenue will come in this next budget for wireless cameras at 35,000, and the purchase we put in for LGAP for 2 motorcycles of 20,000. We're still waiting for that, but generally we do get an LGAP award every year, and we have no reason to expect it otherwise. General fund expenditures are budgeted to increase about 200,000. Most of this is due to increased expenses for salary and benefits. The proposed CCOA increased to 16,000 a year from the current 4. It's significantly more than the forecast, and that's because during the pandemic we laid people off. We had costs that were not incurred at that time because we couldn't provide the service. And then some of the costs that we incurred after the hurricane were transferred to the FEMA account because they were hurricane related. And so that's why we were way under budget. The net shortfall in this budget is $43,000, and we anticipate this being filled by the federal government subsidies and grants related to COVID, and also will be, at some point, we'll return to full revenue generation in the coming year. So, we did recognize that we will have a net shortfall at this point, but it's small, and we should anticipate it coming back. And like I say, we'll probably see some of it in some of these revenues from the state and federal government. Sales tax 1 is the general account that was used to capture the cost as much as we could for FEMA. It didn't capture them all, like the overtime. We did not move it over there at state and sales and the admin and things like that, but we will be getting it back. And as we get it back, we'll put it back in sales tax 1 because that's where we used a lot of the cash from that paid for a lot of the cleanup that we're going to get reimbursed for. Revenue for the account is anticipated to be 1.2 million, which is flat on a budget to budget comparison. But it's an increase of 402,000 when you exclude last year's budget had a prior year's cash appropriation for some of the things we did. Basically, the sales tax increased 220,000, and we got a 200,000 grant fund so that we won't have to use any prior period cash on this budget as compared to the prior one. The grant funds will be related to LCDBG pipe bursting, as well as reimbursement for an CWEF project that was previously expensed. We expense this year, but we won't see the revenue till next year. That's why it's in the budget. And of course, you can read there about why there's a difference in relationship to all the hurricane. Budget to budget expenditures decreased overall 90,000 due to net decrease in spending related to Parish Road drainage projects. I really didn't want to compare budget to forecast because it's just meaningless with everything that was funneled through this account related to Delta and Laura. I do want to point out that this is where we have capital outlays anticipated for 500,000 related to the LCDBG pipe bursting repair. And if we don't, we'll use it for some other, but I had no way to know how much we're going to spend on it. So that's kind of a holding account. 100,000 for replacement of the water plant generator. 100,000 related to HVAC upgrades not paid by the special grant, And this is where I put architect design fees for various projects of $200,000. Now, this is for the park, but not the Buddy Field. The Buddy Field architect fees,
That's
we
covered.
put that in the town park account. This is for the
The
other ones, yeah. Yeah, and of course, as we do things and we decide we want to do things in the parks, we will amend the budget and do all of that, you know, through the process of coming forward and asking y'all's approval. You know, that's one of them things, we didn't even have an idea of what it's going to cost. We know we want to spend it, but it's one of those things that it's going to be big enough that I'm going to bring it in front of y'all to approve it, and we'll, at that time, if we want to amend the budget for that specific item, we can do it for those type of things.
What about the maintenance building over there? Is that also included in that?
What's that?
The maintenance the building that was destroyed in the hurricane?
No, that's one of them costs, we don't know what it's gonna be in, so I didn't put it in there. When we do it, I'm gonna be bringing it back here to say, hey, this is what happened, because we don't know how much is gonna be reimbursed by FEMA, how much is insurance, you know, there's a lot of unknown, and we don't even know when we're gonna be able to, it may take, you know, I hope it don't take a year, but, you know, there's no way to know with the tight market if we can even get somebody to put it in that we find acceptable, so.
How are they operating without a building over there?
We're gonna try to get the fence up to protect it, is the first one, but,
Yeah.
hey, they're operating out.
Fence is gonna be put up in 2 weeks from today.
Yeah,
Okay.
so at least it protects our stuff, but as far as
Equipment.
working for offices and things, they, you know, what are y'all doing, Pat, for offices and things?
James has an office, it's still there. Blake has an office, he said, at the community center. And Charles doesn't have an office as of yet, but he's working out at the water plant. And Cutler stated that he's really getting more ambitious with that now that most of the community center work is coming to him. So he's shifting his focus over to the water plant.
So it's not, answer your question, it's not in the budget, but it will be at some point when we know, and I can bring y'all more definitive things that, you know, if there's things that we're doing that may not be covered by insurance, how are we gonna handle them? If they're not gonna be covered by FEMA, how do we wanna handle them? Do we wanna spend it, or do we wanna cut back? You know, there's a lot of questions, and it just, at this point, there's more unknowns than knowns, and so I did not put that specifically in it. We can do it, we have sufficient funds in this account, but I did not put it in as far as a budget, just, so we you know, that's why I say we'll be bringing back to you for directions and approval on any of this as we go forward. Sales tax, parks and streets, revenue for 2021-22 is anticipated to be $256,000, a budget-to-budget increase of $74,000. The increase is due to $40,000 from sales tax revenue. You know, we talked about how that has been quite a bit more. And also a grant revenue from LGAP related to wireless camera installation that I believe we've got approved to be able to add some more wireless cameras. The forecasted budget variance shows an increase of $30,000, primarily due to we didn't recognize any grant revenue this year. So even though we budgeted, we never got anything. Expenditures, budget to budget, will increase $68,000 due to anticipated capital outlay of $100,000. The capital outlay will be for replacement of edging and mulch. It says much, but it ought to be mulch. And for architect fees related to the Buddy Ball handicap ball field. The actual cost for construction of this field will be recognized in sales tax 3. But that you know, that's this is just, we're taking what we can. There's not a lot of funds in this, but we want to use them for things that we need to use related to the park. Any additional costs may also result in amending the budget, but this will be brought to you when definite costs and timings are known. We couldn't compare it due to COVID. Sales tax 2 fund streets. Revenue for 2021 budget is anticipated to be $797,000, which is essentially flat with prior year's budget. We have a increased sales tax revenue, which will offset about 50% of the prior year's appropriated cash that was included in that budget. In other words, we are including prior year's cash in this budget of $100,000. Last year it was closer to $250,000. That's being offset by the sales tax that we're going to be generating. Expenditures are flat. The anticipated capital spending will be 300,000 K, and this one is a little low, but this is the one related to the Store Street. You know, he said it was closer to 400, and then 200,000 for the culvert beautification project, which is, you know, if people want to come and, you know, pay for the culvert, we will pay for all the other items related to that for installation, which, you know, it basically drainage related, but it also includes beautifying the town. Sales tax 3 fund. Revenue for the 2021 budget is anticipated to be 862,000, an increase of 365 from the prior year. There's 97 of the increase is sales tax revenue. We also have a Calcasieu Police Jury reimbursement of 109K, and then some prior year funds being utilized for anticipated capital projects. Okay, let me make sure. Misspoke. On the sales tax too, the 300,000 was just general street program where we try to put in a program to repair roads and potholes and do major repairs. The store is on sales tax 3. And we also have 245,000 for park improvements. Some of that will be for the Buddy Field. Some of that may end up being used on the Store Road project. And of course, we put in 175,000 to clean out the ditches. We didn't utilize that much, but we put it there, and you know, that may end up being on the Store Road project with the way things are going with the expectations that we're getting now. That's going to be closer to 400, 450,000. So, utility funds revenue is anticipated to be 3 million. In actuality, a lot of that is prior years' funds being used for the pond restoration. You know, there was only actually a very, the net revenue is going to decrease 20,000 because we have fewer counts. We lost about, at one point, as much as 15% of our accounts as a result of the hurricanes. Some of that's come back, but we're not anticipating that to be very significant. So operating revenues will show a decrease. We anticipate increased pricing for water, sewer, and garbage, but we can't currently estimate it, so we kept it under the current amount. We know garbage will be going up, but it'll have to be brought up to the council. At some point, when all the meters are installed, we'll come up and try to keep that flat, but, you know, switch the methodology. Our past experience is when you go to charging people for water of usage, even when you give decreases overall for the base rates, those people that use heavily water ends up paying for more. And right now, we couldn't estimate any of that at this point. So I just want to make sure you knew what was going into the budget expectations. The increase of 980,000, like I say, 600 of that is due to the increased cost to repair for the sewer pond. You know, we budgeted last year $1 million, and we still haven't gotten it done because of the age and obsolescence of the process. You know, technologically, we have to do a different than what's in there, and that's what's costing a lot of the money. And 1.6 million may be a very conservative number. It may even be more than that. 50,000 of the increase is for repair of aged equipment at the lift station, and then of course we got increases due to salary and benefits, and increased operating supply costs resulting from the hurricanes. As you're all aware, when you go buy anything, it's tremendously more than it was more than a year or 2 years ago, above the cost of inflation, you know, just from the idea of trying to get all that. We anticipate that all meters will be installed and ready for the billing based on the usage by December 2021. We actually think it's going to be a lot earlier than that, but I just want to put that in there as a target. We hope that before then we will have the meters installed, we'll have pro forma sent out, and then we'll also have the rates established way before that December deadline. But I did want to give us a hard deadline going forward. At the point, the revenue streams will be reevaluated to set up recovery on an actual cost basis. And, this may be include lowering the, the base rate being offset by, the cost of additional use of water and sewer. It will also be presented separately to the council. In summary, the following upside and risk are not included in the proposed budget, but are recognized and will be presented to the council for amendment of the budget as needed and approval of related significant expenditures. Additional funds from residential implementation of usage-based billing for water and sewer, additional funds from increased garbage pickup, which we're bidding out and evaluating, repair and replacement of assets covered by FEMA and/or insurance. These significant costs can't be anticipated due to the current market constraints and requirements. As these items are bid out and become significant, of course, we bring them to you for approval and/or budget amendment if needed. Generally, this is only needed on the expense side, as the revenue additions don't require a budget amendment unless you fall short. And I don't anticipate us falling short. I anticipate us being the other way, that we've underestimated. Other capital outlays discussed and potential being implemented with FEMA or other government assistance. Like 3 above, these will be brought to the council as needed for approval and potential budget amendment. Potentially, this is expansion of the park, baseball field upgrades and that kind of things we just talked about earlier. Purchase of land for potential projects. This is one thing that we bring to y'all and approve it, and it of course would be a adjustment to the budget if we decide if it's significant. Timing of reimbursement from FEMA. This is a really hard one. We know what we spent. We just don't know when they're going to give it back to us. We've been waiting for money now for 9 months, and we're working to get $300,000, but we spent almost $2 million. I can't predict when they're going to give us our money or give us assistance. I don't say our money, we spent our money, but reimbursement. Then the other one is timing of reimbursement from insurance. Insurance has given us a partial payment, and the remaining payment is based on actual replacement. We have replacement costs on a number of items. However, at this point, we can't reasonably estimate, given the tightness, as to what it's going to cost us and what we're going to apply for. So we didn't put that in the budget. So I apologize for being a little long-winded, but these are all that went into the budget that is being presented at this meeting and will be approved at the next meeting, which will be next Monday. So, anybody, any questions or anything on that? If you're comfortable, and of course, if you've got any, you can always get with me or Ellen or whatever. We'd be more than willing to answer any specific questions we have and everything on that, as far as what you might want to do.
On a side note, not that it's, I get we're dealing with millions of dollars, but going through, you find little small things here and there. So like for instance, just in general fund, like there's an easy 55, 60 grand that I asked questions about. And it's not that big of a deal, but 60 grand going towards the park, that's a lot of baseballs, it's a lot of umpires, it's a lot of chalk. Or 60 grand going towards the police department, that's another person. That's tourniquets, that's whatever. Soccer balls for the soccer club, pay raises for the fire department. So like when I ask questions or I send those emails, I feel pretty little when we just, I don't get those answers. I'm not an accountant. So when I go through it line by line, I'm doing the best I can, but there has to be some reciprocation for that.
Yeah. Now be aware, while we do it line by item, we're not really looking at the bottom, because there are a lot of costs that we can't predict that we're going to get. And I'll give you an example, is when we're working, especially with the repair of all the stuff that's not been taken care of, we put a certain amount in there.
Right.
And invariably, we bust the budget for that line item. 2 things occur. First, in the past, people weren't given the right line items, and so we still have a lot of that, where if we put it in the right line item, it would probably show that we did spend it. It's just we did not have good enough accounting at that point, and still are finding it very hard to make sure people put it in the wrong things. That's why some line items you see are really blown really bad. And now it's not like, it goes into labor, but it's an expense. I'm talking about on the expense side.
And like I said, don't get me wrong, at the end of the day, we're always, you know, above water and doing, like, I know we're doing the right thing, that's not what I'm saying, but it just helps
Yeah.
to communicate that
Well,
to other people.
That's where I'm also stressing on them that this year coming up, you know, it was a very difficult year with all this stuff. But that's where Ellen, I've stressed to her that she needs to make sure going forward that we put things in the right ones so that we can do kind of what you're saying. Hey, you know, do we need 1,000, maybe 500 is what we're showing, and we can do that line item thing. It just, last year and then, you know, coming on, we just trying to do our best to keep our heads above water, given everything. And that's why I kind of looked at the bottom line a lot of times, because I do know there are times that, hey, we don't expect to spend $20,000 on pump parts and things like that, and we put money in there, but it's nowhere near what you need to be able to keep up. And but we're going to make improvement on that area. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for that. Anyway, and you know, and of course, I am more than welcome if you want to look at some of the detail charges. You know, let her go ahead and pull those out. We have a different things where you can look at those. You know, you don't have to just say, hey, give me a printout. We can give you a printout so you can kind of see what charges are to confirm some of that. So,
And I think what he's saying, and I do apologize, Daniel, that I didn't give you the email back. That was what I'd shown you on, was saying COVID, there's, you know, several reasons. But, like, let's say postage, we put 500. His question is, where did we find that 500? You know, sometimes we put a place marker, other services, which is sometimes a catch-all, shouldn't be a catch-all. People
Right.
tend to stick it there if they don't know where else to put it. Miscellaneous services. But those little amounts that
And-
maybe didn't have but $50 in spending, where did we get those
and
amounts?
then that's the other thing is I've been starting to go back to I want the budget to be developed not by her or myself. I want the people in the field, and we tried to get that, but it's still not up to the degree that I want them to know their business better than me. You know, I mean that's the expectations, and that's what Pat's working on too, to make sure we do it. I know that it's right now, it's a lot to be desired, and we're gonna improve it. And of course, that's where I come back to make sure y'all are all aware of where the spending is and what's going on. And, you know, anything of any significance, and I say significance, any big spending, 25, 30,000, you know, or even if it's a contractor, or even less than that, I try to make sure y'all bring it, and I bring it up to y'all, and I give you the copies of everything, so. And you're more than welcome at any point, you know, to come and ask, and, you know, I authorize y'all to have as much access as you want to look at the detail. That's what it's there
One of
for.
the things that we're asking, I'm just saying, you know, let's say I get a receipt that says streets. It needs to be a little bit more specific when we talk about streets. Was it doing a pothole? Was it, you know,
Yeah, that's,
sweeper?
Yes, ma'am.
and that's what I'm saying. I think some of that's how they cover up some of the differences. Don't need to be that way. We need to know exactly what we're doing. So I'm all for it, what you're saying, and then I am pushing on them to control costs. That's something that I hit with them, and I'm very upset on sometimes where we spend a lot of money for rentals that we don't need when we should have done the work right, you know, up front instead of renting out. These are costs that we can control that save the company, the town big time in the long run, and that's what we ought to be looking for, so. And of course, we do have a requirement that we try to get 3 bids even on minor items, you know, $3,000 or $4,000, $5,000. Doesn't require us to have a lot of documentation, but I do make sure that they go through the effort and get the documentation to say, yeah, I've confirmed that this is the lowest bid, even though we're not required to do it, because that says I know, you know your business, so. But yeah, to answer your questions, you know, we can sure look at that and get that information together, but you're right, it needs to improve, and the expectation is it's going to improve. That's why I've got the people in place to be able to make it happen. And, you know, at some point, if y'all want to start spend a little time on the, you know, each month going over it. I'll have Ellen start doing a presentation and giving y'all, not necessarily here, but have you a documentation pack to explain all the costs that you're seeing and what it was at and where we budgeted or why we didn't budget it. I think if that will help y'all going forward, we can start doing that, start next month.
Just,
You
I
want-
mean, like I said, at the end of the day, we always end up okay. It's just on the front end.
No,
The-
I
the-
understand
The
that.
back end, everybody always does a good job.
No,
Just
but
trying to
that's what I'm
think.
saying, but if it helps in this case as a bridge, you know, because I've submitted here to help you say, hey, where is that at? We'll start doing that, you know, I'm okay with it. That means we have to know our cost and are presenting it to you so that you understand our cost.
And definitely, if there's a large variance between what we budget, we should know what that variance was created from.
And we haven't done it, I'm just saying that, I think that would be a good thing to do, and give it to you as a packet, not necessarily as a, taking time from the council, but before, so that when you come in, you have that information presented and things like that. If that's okay with y'all, we'll start it, let's start in the January one, you know, the end of the month, it's gonna be kind of crazy wrapping up and everything, so if that's okay, but we will try to make one very briefly, but then have it in place for the 1st of July going forward. Okay, other than that, anybody got any other questions about the budget itself or anything like that? Then this is the introduction. I don't think we're not required any kind of motion or anything at this point. That'll be done at the next meeting, which will be next Monday, at the, you know, our condemnation meeting or secondary meeting. It's getting to where they're kind of all running together anyways. Okay. Motion to approve hiring McElroy, Quirk, and Birch to audit the financial activities of the town of Highway for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2020 and ending June 30th, 2021, and to perform agreed-upon procedures report. Now, last year, we done it even though we weren't required to, because I'm trying to keep consistent, and it's a higher level of controls, so we did it last year. You know, now they're gonna require it. The cost is flat. It's 42,000, it's what we paid last year. I understand that that's what it is for this year. Now, at some point, I do, you know, maybe next year, I do want to bid it out. I'm not saying we change, but just to keep, you know, keep it honest. We haven't bid this out in 8 or 10 or 12 years. And I'm not saying we would change, but I think if it, you know, I'm asking you to accept it this year, and next year we'll do it in enough time that we will bid it out. It doesn't mean we would change, but just trying to keep the pressure of cost increases down to a minimum. So we'll make sure you're aware of that, but I guess a motion to approve for this year, the hiring.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Then the next item on the agenda is water, is the sewer report with James Hardy first, and then, you know, I don't know if y'all remember, we restructured water, sewer, and roads into 3 separate supervisors, and so, you know, each one has their own. I've asked each of them to give their report in their respective areas, so.
Hello, good evening. Since the last meeting, we have checked on and fixed sewer issues at 601 Chestnut, 805 West Miller, 200 Ruby Street, and 306 South Bowers. 107 Larry, 607 South Thompson, and 116 Live Oak had sewer issues that we were not responsible for, that we checked on, and it was deemed it was on the customer. Our Beanfield lift station is back online now. It was the station that was upgraded from a 3-inch to a 4-inch pumps. We're in the process of getting tree limbs cut down along the sewer pond fence line to make way for our new fencing. And due to the recent flooding that occurred last month, this would be a great time to put a game plan together to discuss flood resiliency. If possible, when you go to City Hall, please take a little time out to fill out my sewer survey that sits to the right side of the window where you pay your water bill at. And please write down your name and address when filling it out. And I would like to give my condolences to former sophomore mayor Chris Duncan, who recently passed. He many years ago, he had an insurance business that sat on West Highway 90 across from Family Dollar Store out here in Highway. And also to all the dads, happy Father's Day.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
Hey, real quick, I want to recognize James and the guys, because when Energy removed their pole off of Rudy,
Yeah,
they repaired that leak almost immediately.
Well, fantastic. I have such a heartache anyway for everything. I'm glad they got it all back. And that is something that we, Cindy, we have prepared the billing for Entergy for, so we're asking reimbursement for all those costs and everything, so thank you a lot. And then I guess, Charles, you want to give us a water update?
Yeah, okay, this is the first time for me, y'all gotta understand, I'm nervous. We've got that leak fixed on Barkley and Helen, got that taken care of. It was a 2-inch main that was broken, we fixed that. Fixed a few leaks around town, different areas, and got about 15 meters put in the last few weeks. So hopefully we get a whole lot more in the future and get y'all situated.
All right. Did, I guess as far as the, still looking to get the water generator, the generator here within 4 to 6 weeks, is that kind of what we're looking for?
The PO's cut for it, Paul.
Yeah.
For the natural gas generator.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's probably a 3-month lead time, Paul.
Okay. It won't be enough for a hurricane. We'll
No,
have to, you'll just keep running that
they're
generator
testing
once
it.
a week, make sure,
Yeah,
keep it
they
going.
running that trap.
They
Yeah.
got it tested once a week.
And just, I said December, what is your feeling as far as having all the meter, I know you just call it from your gut, but are we,
Yeah.
you looking at October, November, or is it gonna probably take till December?
No, I hopefully have them by October.
Okay.
By the beginning of October, we should be done.
And then that give us some time to work, be able to get everything
Yeah.
done for it.
For everything.
Other question I had is, I know whenever they done the street, repair and everything on Barkley and over there off of Barkley and Helen and everything, that they busted a lot of lines, and I think I understood that the reason was they did not put the water lines deep enough to
Yeah,
protect them.
back whenever they put them, the original, however many years they was put there, they wasn't put probably a foot underneath the roadway. And they were digging 12 inches, and they ripped 3 of them out
Yeah, and
that we
so,
have to repair.
so anytime they have a heavy truck drive over, they bust the lines and everything. So at some point, we're going to probably have to go back in and spend some capital money to put those lines in correctly if we don't want to keep spending money and having boil advisories by having to turn off the water to repair all these leaks. And I just want to make you aware of this was something that came up, during the thing, and I want to make sure at least everybody is aware that we recognize there is a problem. We don't know what the solution is at this point, but at some point the solution is going to throw money at having to, put those lines, reset those lines deep enough so that we're not busting them every time,
Yeah.
a truck drives over or we repair something, so. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
And one thing I'm gonna say about Charles, they were able to get some meters done, so they've been working that pretty hard. Except, we do get called off for other jobs, we bust water lines and things like that, so. And then James' guys help, our guys help Charles, and Charles' guys help James, so it depends on what's going on. But if Charles said he could have it to you by October, we're gonna give him till December.
Okay, that's all right. Hey, I do want to mention that we did have a boil advisory that occurred over the weekend, and I understand our new system worked pretty good, huh? Notification system, and
Yeah, from what I understand,
Yeah, we posted it on our new Facebook page. And, everybody, we've got a lot of likes about it, and a lot of people knew that it was out there, and as soon as the ball and Bobby was lifted on Saturday, Roxanne posted that, everybody was aware of it.
so.
Roxanne's done a really good job getting this new Facebook and our new webpage up.
So at least, we made a commitment to try to start doing that. And everybody, they mailed out a form where you could fill it out to put in your information so that we can notify just those areas that are affected, you don't have to worry about, well, are we in boil advisory or not? So, this is a good point. I just want to compliment the guys on sewer and water are getting that in place and everything, so. All right, the next item, I guess, is the street maintenance report with Clayton. street maintenance and drainage, might as well call it like it is, you know that.
And you threw parks on me too, don't forget. We hung the patriotic banners down Thompson and East and West Miller. Helped Mr. Stantz hang the American flags for the Memorial Day.
They've done a pretty good job of cleaning the road up too. I don't know if you noticed, you know, that the main drag there, it
Yeah, we
was,
cleaned that up.
it was
yes.
extremely clean and, you know, so that it didn't distract from,
And we started putting new mulch in areas on the playground. We're mowing grass, trying to keep up with the rain. That's jetted out some culverts, and we helped the water department with some water leaks.
and I guess the jetting of the culverts, I want to head off before I know where Mark was going. We are going to try to keep that at a pretty, maybe we need to start putting that on the website, you know, of listing of where we're jetting out or where we have jetted out and where we're going to jet out, so that people are aware of it.
Okay.
Just to communicate, you know, to give them an idea. I don't want to, you know, just blast it, but if they want to know, hey, we've got it on our website, you know, this is where we're going, or if you've requested something like that and you haven't seen it, you know, if you don't see it on that list, that means you need to get back with us and
Right.
question.
And I know y'all are doing it, but people are more aware like everything that's about to happen. Then it makes people feel a little better knowing that, okay, well, the culverts are at least being cleaned, something's being done. We know you can't do everything, but, you know,
All right, no problem.
One other thing, I think the other item is, we talked about that we're trying to arrange a final pass-through at our cost, which will be offset by this cooperative endeavor. It's gonna cost us about 30. You're gonna try to get that by, you'll be looking at sometime in June, correct?
Yeah.
We're waiting on Mr. Crooks to get back. He's in class right now. And he's contacted today, and he's gonna let us know, to let that company know that we gave him the okay to start moving on this. As soon as they let me know when they get started, I'll let you know.
Okay, well, I want an agreement, at least a defined agreement somewhat, that Mr. Bouquet can look at to make sure we'll hold a study. And of course, one of the things I told him is, I want to make sure our controls are in place, that if they're going to charge us by truckload, that we have someone, you know, sign off or observe every truckload to make sure that everything is, and I'm not saying they would, but I'm just, you know, the internal controls to make sure that we're paying for what our expectations are on that. So,
Yeah.
so anyway, you know, if we get that, there was something else I was going to say about, the other is we are going to have a trash bash day, it's correct, the 26th of June, which is a Saturday. Now, this trash bash, you can bring electronic, you can bring C&D waste, you can bring whatever you know, get rid of, with the exception that I don't think they take hazardous material or paints. But anything else you can bring up here that Saturday, and they will haul it away. So we want to get that out to everybody, that if you got something at the house, you know, now we're going to try to pick up on the road, but if honestly certain things, you know, I'd have a very difficult on that. You have an opportunity to get rid of it, bring it up here and get rid of it on that Saturday.
Excuse me, that's something else they got posted on the town of Iowa website today, the banner for the trash bash.
Mhm.
Take your time and go look on Facebook, you'll see it. And what you can put in there is household waste, yard debris, furniture, white goods, as long as they're properly tagged, say Freon was removed. What they will not accept are batteries, tires, paint, hazardous chemicals.
Yep, which is what I was saying. That's, you know, they will take C&D waste. So I mean, if you've got like sheetrock that you know, a small sheetrock you did, you know how I don't think that Waste Management picks that up. You can bring it up here and they will dispose of it. So we got a couple of things. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because after this is all done by the end of this month, you know, and of course I'm assuming that Waste Management's going to do their job. If we find the stuff that we have now, like, you know, kind of like at your house and stuff like that, we will start giving them notice and using our ordinance enforcement to make sure that they pick it up at their cost, or if we pick it up, that we're reimbursed. And the reason I'm saying that, everybody's aware of it, when we do it. You know, we'll have done a final pass, we would have done the trash bash. You know, we won't expect people to be putting stuff out there like they are now, you know.
Hopefully not.
Well, no, but I mean,
Yes.
if they do, I'm gonna get with Keith and ordinance enforcement, and we're going to enforce it.
Fine, yeah.
So, anyway, appreciate it, everything.
Thank y'all.
Yes,
One other thing, that, Clay Watson, they posted on the town of Iowa Facebook page, the railroad crossing on Bauer Street is gonna be closed tomorrow. Excuse me, closed tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. for repair.
okay.
Which railroad crossing?
All right. Guess the next item is Chief Scooter.
Good evening. Stats are as follows for the month of May. 12 medicals, 10 vehicle accidents, 7 fire alarms, 6 structure fires, 1 grass fire, 1 vehicle fire, 1 investigation, and 1 service call. Just a couple of things to hit on real quick. We are in the midst of our favorite season now. It is hurricane season. Everybody's seen what's going on in the Gulf. If you don't have a plan, go ahead and get one now. Also, it's incredibly hot outside. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water. Avoid prolonged times in the sun. We haven't seen the calls yet, but we get them every year. And also, on a more positive note, we received our rescue boat, which we applied for last year on a grant. We have received that, and we also have already conducted water rescue classes, so you have trained personnel should the event come up here in the town highway again to where water rescue is needed.
You gonna taxi us across the gully if we need to?
Do what?
So you'll taxi us across the gully if we need
I'm
to?
gonna borrow your hat.
Hey, have you been getting quite a few requests for people wanting burn their foliage and stuff like that? I understand.
No more than normal.
No more normal, okay, because we still need to change that ordinance the way we talked about, and, you know, I really need you to push on that, because at some point, that's gonna cut back on the amount of tonnage of, you know, things that'll have to be disposed of.
Understood.
And I wanna have that in place to be able to allow people to do it, but we gotta have a process and.
As of right now, I mean, we get maybe 1, 2 a week, which is our normal.
Okay,
So nothing out of the ordinary.
okay.
Any other questions for me tonight? All right, y'all have a good night.
All right, thank you.
Evening.
Hey, Keith. How was, Wyoming?
Montana. It was
Oh,
awesome.
Montana, well, hey, you know, for us Southerners down here, Wyoming, Montana, he said that's all like, New Orleans and Houston, right? They're all right there.
Very beautiful country, I must say. Enjoyed it.
And enjoyed some of that buffalo,
Yes.
or you got buffaloed?
Okay, we have, I have one request for a promotion. Christopher Piper from patrolman to patrolman first class. If I could get a motion.
I move to approve the promotion of Christopher Piper from patrolman to PFC.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Done deal.
Thank you, he'll be glad.
Hey, question for you, tickets and, you know, as far as, I'm just talking about for budget purposes and everything, do you anticipate that that's gonna go back to pre-pandemic levels, or it's gonna still be a while?
The stats are up this month.
Okay.
It's starting to go back up. I would hope, I would anticipate it, yes.
Okay.
Provided there's no hurricanes and other things, yes.
They don't call none of that stuff in. It's a-
We had a total of 38 offenses, summons and citations and tickets, a total of 360, 8 traffic accidents, 9 arrests, and the total calls of service were 252.
So, I guess as far as our ordinance part of that stuff, it seems like he's been pretty busy. You know, it's been a pretty dramatic amount of work and stuff.
Yes. Oh, yeah, he's been keeping y'all busy on that other Monday from what I understand.
Yeah.
He's had field training officer training, and I did speak with Pat, as y'all were referencing earlier, and we went and looked at some things, and the guy that has that contract happens to be on vacation this week also. So Brandon's gonna call him Friday to try to set up a specific schedule, and we'll let you know.
Okay. I know he's doing a good job of keeping all the portable signs off the main road.
Yes.
Those things sprout up like weeds, I'm gonna tell you. So,
Any other questions? All right, y'all have a good one.
thanks. Clayton, a question that was brought up, are we gonna have sand ready for, sandbagging and things? I know we don't have it now. Is there a way we can go ahead and get that set up, and where are we going to have that set up?
Or there'll be some at a pavilion. I'll usually put 2 areas, right behind the big pavilion and another pile by the back gate.
And you'll get those out this week? Is that what you're gonna try to do? Is that kind of question? Make sure, just kind of covered yours. Let's make sure. Okay.
Yes.
Is that on our Facebook page so we can have, people can be notified
I'm
that?
sure they didn't put it yet.
Okay, I didn't know if it, like I said, planning to put it on there, okay.
All right, thank you. Sorry about that. Okay,
That's fine.
Okay, a motion to approve the cooperative endeavor agreement with and between the town of Iowa and Calcasieu Council on Aging, and to authorize myself to execute said agreement. This is that we agreed to give them an extra we give them $4,000 a year to cover some of the salaries and everything, but this was to be able to pay for their rental over here, to recognize that they have this additional cost that they didn't have before to help our senior citizens. And so we talked about last week, this is just the cooperative endeavor agreement. I anticipate just giving it to them up front at, the 1st of July, if y'all agree to doing it, and letting them.
So there's no way to negotiate that cost of that rent for them?
That's theirs, we're just giving them a help on that, and if they don't use it for the rent, they would use it for some other reason. And now this is a one-time deal. We will, the 4,000 is a reoccurring. I think we've got a cooperative agreement that goes on multi-year.
Yeah.
In this case, I've done it just from year to year to kind of see what's going on, and this one, we know they're paying about $1,000 a month right now, and if it decreases, or if y'all decide to give more or less, we'll review this again next year, so.
I move to approve the CEA between the town of Iowa and Calcasieu Council on Aging.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Deferring the motion to accept, reject bids received for the tear down and installation of the fence around the sewer pond. Just to give you a little backup, our initial bid on that was $150,000. And I think Pat went to look at it and found out that they were bidding a higher gauge. And so I think you want.
He put a bid in for 9 gauge when the original fence was 11 gauge. So he requoted it for 11 gauge, it came back about $20,000 cheaper. So that's the average.
And that's what they're redoing, and so we're going to try to put it in next week's agenda. So I'm just deferring it. I want to make sure they were aware of what this is about, and we got to get that fence up because that's a very high liability to us if somebody was to fall in that pond and drown, kids.
Just to add something to it, we did had a bunch of trees cut out of the way on the south side of that pond, of that fence. And that fence is not in as bad shape as we thought it was, so that price could possibly come down.
Is it repairable or?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Some of it is,
Some of that part of it is, the north, east, and west sides are totally gone.
Okay, the next item is financial reports, and we kind of went over that. You have the May financials in front of you to be able to look at. I'm not going to go over it at this point. I guess at this point, I want to open up to anybody in the audience that would like to bring something up. Please come up to the podium, give me your name, and tell me what we can do for you.
My name is Dorinda DeReese. I live at 904 Helen Street, and I learned a lot already from this meeting about things going on Helen and Harper Street, and I found out there was a Facebook page and a website and a trash bash. It's not really much communication, and I promise you no one in my subdivision knows anything about it. Facebook page, we have a Facebook page, Harper Subdivision Facebook page, and we talk on it all the time, but Yeah, I'm gonna enlighten people, but anyway, I did find out some things tonight, but what I came to talk about is the hurricane debris in our neighborhood is massive. It's not been picked up. Across the street from my house, from corner to corner is just solid hurricane debris. And when the road people came in, and we love our new road, but they took all that hurricane debris, and we're talking about trees, trunks, leaves. There's a basketball goal down on Harper. There's a deep freezer on Harper. Anyway, the road people shoved all that back into the ditches and dammed it all up. And now we have drainage problems. My friend Diane across the road, my neighbor, every time it rains, it comes right up to her front door, and it's never done that before. She can't clean that ditch. She can't cut that ditch because it is full of hurricane debris.
Well, and that's where we're trying to do this final pass that
Right.
you were talking about.
I think that was just been
You know,
decided.
unfortunately, we kind of noticed that just, people kept assuming we were going to go again and again, and that, our last pass was January, I think the end of January.
Our stuff has been there. I mean, FEMA did come by, but a lot of it, they dropped back into the ditches, and it just piled and piled and piled.
Well, hopefully we're
But,
going to get it this time around.
When I walked around the neighborhood talking to people over the weekend, they're saying this has been here since Thanksgiving. Some of my neighbors are digging ditches because everything's so stopped
It's
up.
within the city limits, huh?
Oh, yes, we're in the city.
Yeah, no, reason I'm saying it, I'm surprised. I thought they'd picked up everything. and-
Oh, no, sir. I guess no one's coming around looking in our area. We still have stop signs in the ditches. We don't have street signs. It's like we've been abandoned. And our neighborhood used to be so clean and nice, and now it stinks. We're seeing snakes and rats coming out of this debris. And then people, it's flooded all the time. My neighbor across the road, Joe Morton, he's been digging a ditch from the back of his property all the way to the front because the road people have the culverts stopped up about probably a third of the way up, and so the water can't get into there. So it's just coming into all of our yards. Mr. Spears next to me, he's on the corner of Harper and Helen. He's been digging all the way down, he's on the corner of Barkley and Helen. He's been digging all the way back because there's it's not an abandoned house, but there's a house there that I don't know if they're gonna come back or not. Two-story, a new house, and they were gonna demolish it, but I don't know. Anyway, it's full of sheetrock and bricks, and Mr. Spears, who's 81 years old, has been digging on that every day because he said it's all coming up in my backyard. So really need some attention back there in our neighborhood.
But you're talking to the right person on it. You
Took
got
me
the
outside,
right one to
and
get
now
his
we know
attention.
because we don't have any communication, and it seems like people have just forgotten about our neighborhood.
Well, I don't think it was forgotten. The intent is we were trying to get as much as we can, and unfortunately, we see it. It's not only there. There are other places, but we want to get them all fixed up and in place, and the drainage is fixed. It's just
We've driven around town. I think that Helen and Barkley and East Second is the worst in the town.
so.
So anyway, that's what I came to say.
Well, we're going to work it.
We
We're going to
would
get it.
appreciate all the help we can
That's what
get.
we're saying. That's.
We have kids driving golf courses all over the place, and it's dangerous. There's snakes and rats in that pile of stuff, and it smells.
Unfortunately, I guess we should have asked Walt, because I understand that they still have some sort of cleanup to do on the road part of it.
Oh, yes.
Not that, but you were talking about the dam
The
up that
road
they were.
people caused a lot of that. They dammed up the ditches.
They're not completing that project.
Okay, so, but yeah, make sure that, I want to make sure before we do anything else,
Right.
that they do their part.
Right, y'all
Some of
agreed to
that they
pay
can't
them?
do, that's going to be yard, but
I
what
think
we're
that they
doing.
should finish before y'all pay them, but that's just
Oh,
my
yeah.
opinion.
Yeah,
'Cause
well,
it
that's
may
why
never
we,
get done.
that's why we retain 10% of it, just to make sure unless they completely do it, they don't get that 10%,
Mm-hmm.
which is $50,000. It's enough. I would think they would want to make that, so.
Yes.
But then on the other is I think Pat and them went and looked at it, and we're going to see what we can do to help initially, honestly, I think it's gonna be a week and a half or 2 weeks before we really can get the garbage done, and
Once we're able to get this company to commit to come out and start picking it up, we will tell them where we want them to start, and that will be one of the areas that we will focus on.
All right, well, I appreciate that. I've accomplished what I came to say.
okay.
Thank y'all.
Well, hey, please come back anytime and try, let everybody know. I mean, our website is new, that's why we sent the email, the mail, we mailed a letter to everybody so they could see and say, hey, please use this. This is our way of trying to communicate that didn't exist in the past to try to get things done. So,
Well, I don't know if the people in my neighborhood got past the pick it all up and bundle it up nicely, because we're like, we can't pick this up, we can't. But also, when Waste Management or whoever it is that's coming through,
we still got problems with them big time.
right, there's only the driver now. There's no one to help him. And I went out there and asked him about some of this stuff, and he said, no, we can't pick all this up.
No, they're supposed to send a second truck that does have people, and they have fallen on that job. And I talked with them Friday, and my expectations, one way or the other, by the end of the month, if they're not doing it, we will cancel, and we'll pick up somebody higher and sue them for the difference for breach of contract.
There you go.
If they, because they should have been doing this.
Yes.
And I understand, everybody's got problems, but there comes a point where I've got to have my town clean and get what we're paying for, or
Right.
we'll do something else. But, yeah, I do know they have the automated, but they're supposed to run a secondary truck every so often through various towns, and we have not seen them yet.
Right.
Like the lady said last.
Nope, that's why I visited with her Friday. That's why I visited with her Friday and told her, we've reached, I have to formally give them a verbal notification. The next one is I'll get with Mr. Bouquet, we'll send them a certified notification, and then at that point, I think we'll be somewhat protected to be able to terminate the contract for cause, and then we'll have to seek damages, because the next best alternative is about $10 per account more, and at least through the original contract period. And then we'll figure out what we'll do going forward. That's all we can do, it's,
All right, thank you.
yes, ma'am. Anybody else have anything they want to bring up? Please step forward and give me your name, and tell me what you want to talk about. Okay, I headed off some of that, that's good, okay. I guess then, open for council comments, Julie? Vanessa?
I just want to say Main Street looks great, and some of the areas in town is starting to look better. We're getting there.
Yeah. Anything to add? Gerald, anything? You've been kind of quiet on the end there. All right, then I entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, before I do it, we know we're at 6:30, next Monday is our condemnation. Yep, next Monday. Condemnation and anything else that we have to add that we haven't picked up on the current, this thing's come in, everything. So, okay, motion to adjourn?
Second.
Done.